Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to. Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to. Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to. Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to nice little technical get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to. Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to nice little technical get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to. Hey guys, welcome to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to nice little technical get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to the call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to nice little technical get in there and give you guys some details. Looks like I've got some people trying to call. Just wanted to take a few minutes to nice little technical get in there and give you guys some minutes to yeah. Check one. All right. Wow. I just had this thing was going ham over here on YouTube. So not sure what was going there, but let's go ahead and check it out. Get this thing set up properly. Open in a bogus window for me. So let's see here. All right. Let's go ahead and all right, so we're back. I was having some technical difficulties there, but I'm glad you're here nonetheless. Today, I just wanted to go over a recap on some of the first 7 weeks of information that you've gone through. So, it'd be nice if somebody knows how to work these details related to Zoom calls. I'd love to have a guest on here to help me out. It's tough to manage it all by yourself. So, I'm going to get started and kind of just go over the recap, talk a little bit about where we were and where we are at the moment. So, all right, here's what it is. So, as the weeks have gone by, I've been able to, work on my own strategies here that have helped me get to a place where I can be more efficient. It's helped me think about a lot of pitfalls in my own business. It's helped me refine my products. It's helped me gain some partnerships in terms of, um, people that I wanted to have on board. Not necessarily specific people, but if you seek these type of things, then these people will eventually just come to you, and they'll be mixed in with what your goals are. And if you can find some people to run with, pending the trust factor, I think that you'll be in a good place. So, if you're just joining us, there was some issues and some technical difficulties with YouTube and having Zoom open at the same time. So it was fantastic. It was just on repeat for a second. So hopefully that didn't change your mind about being here. But here's what we're doing. So we're going to just do a recap. And I want to dig right in by saying this. What's important is that if you plan on being a business owner for yourself, that you just get in there and you start, fielding the issues that you're going to have. You have to start somewhere. You've probably heard that 100 times. This information that I'm giving you is probably not new information to you.
So get in there and get something done. Start to think about the process that you would like to have as you're building your business. Some people prefer that they work for other people. That just hasn't been my thing. I used to work to other people and build monuments to their business ideas, and eventually they'd gain capital and they'd have some fun. And then, places like California Pizza Kitchen, think about those guys for a sec. They sold their company for $160 million a piece, and they weren't even restaurateurs. So your own belief is what's going to get you to a place where you can learn how to knock it out of the park for yourself. So we're going to jump right in, talk a little bit about product development. In the first couple of weeks after we did the dream board, I got sick, so I wasn't really present for the first couple of weeks. After I got back into a place where I felt well again, I started to connect with people on reinventing themselves. One person I'm going to point out right now, I'm not really going to talk about their name, but they were in a business that they didn't really care for or couldn't get any momentum in that place. And so, I said to them, because I could see some really good qualities in them, but the products that they had, they just weren't something that was going to be, available to manage. It's not a product that the masses are willing to look at. Nobody wants to talk about this product. And so, you know, I had to drip on him for a little bit, and I said, "Hey, so, what is it that your plans are? Like, let's just say we set a time frame to this particular strategy that you have, and if it doesn't work for you, then, let's invent something." And that's what this whole thing is about reinventing yourself, reinventing what you're doing. Um, Let me ask you a question. So if you're, you know, is your goal to go work a job for 40 years and then get pushed out because you're not the young buck on the block anymore and build that monument to another person? Or do you want to put enough work in so that you can get to a place yourself and build your own game plan, build your own family, build your own life on your own terms? Well, I don't know who doesn't want to do that, but a lot of people say that they want to do it and they never really dive in, right? So the reason why I think it's important that you're here is that, hold on, let me answer this for Glenn real quick. Let's see what Glenn has to say. Check my timeline. Two, four, okay. There he is. So let's see here. Stop this share real quick. Glenn, thanks for being here, bud. Have a little fun little technical difficulties like I do every single week. Until
Well, what would our life be without technical difficulties?
until I can get somebody to manage the process for me, I got to do it all by myself. I'm the guy who
Yep,
shows up every week just to, keep pounding the pavement, keep going to do the thing, and eventually there'll be more than just me. So it's a good news, right?
that's it.
How's
Yep.
everything for you, bro?
Man, I got to be honest, I'm in a tight spot, but that's all right. We can talk about it offline.
All right, cool. Let's do it. So we were talking a little bit about, I was talking about things where, people work their entire lives for another company. I can look at my grandfather's scenario who worked for NASA and TRW, and eventually the old guys get phased out for one reason or another. And so for me, and I wish I would have had this mindset 20 years ago, for me, or actually 40 years ago, I've actually been working for myself for about 15. And you learn a lot through that. But if I'd had this mindset when I was getting started in the workforce, I would have said, hey, well, I could just live off my mom's dime for now until I get this thing figured out for myself and I can move forward, right? So that's one of those things where I feel like discovery and those your ability to adapt to what's critical for business instead of building that monument to another person is really the way to go. For me, I pray about the things that I have going on in my life, and sometimes they show up on time, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are things that are elusive until you start being the person that attracts those efforts so that it doesn't, crush you. A lot of friends that I know and a lot of people that I work around in the online space, their problem is they just say that everything that they're doing is not working. Well, let's process that for a second out loud. One thing I learned when I was a chef is that if it was going to be, it was up to me. So that's one thing that I had to accomplish for myself. I had to go out there. I had to go find the job. I didn't know what the job was going to be about, but then they tell you, hey, by the way, you need to have $500 in knives and tunics and shoes. And by the way, you can't wear sneakers in this kitchen. And so it started to become this place where you were sitting behind a whole bunch of money that you thought you were getting a job, but the reality is you were going to be building your career. And when you build a career, it costs money. So think about that for a second. Can think about one person that stands out for me. I won't mention his name, but he says that he's interested in building something, but until he's ready and until he approaches the conversation, he's not going to do it. So he's got to buckle down, go work for somebody else, figure out what it is that he's going to do instead of taking massive action on his own. He's going to go for security. And I get it. I've been in that place for 25 years in a kitchen where security was the only thing that I cared about. I remember being in college, 18 credit hours, having to be a chef working for a company called Bertolini's, which was in Caesar's Palace, and had to go do that 10-hour shift and have 18 credit hours if I wanted to go to college to, at what people said at the time, was make something of myself. So that's a huge epiphany for a lot of people. And I think that what you'll find is rather than, catastrophize about what's really going on, maybe sit there and you have God or you have a higher power and pray about the things that you want, or materialize these things with your higher power and say, listen, these are the things that I need to get through. So if you could put the right people in my life, the right conversations in my life, the right attitude, if you could help me keep my good attitude through this whole thing, thick and thin, rather or not, I feel like I'm surviving, then please do it. So, I'm going to segue into this and say, I can't remember a time when I really gave it thought that I didn't materialize some sort of scenario that keep me with a roof over my head. I can look back when my son was in the hospital and I didn't really give two shits about myself. I looked at that and I went to myself, okay, well, did I die or get any skinnier? You may have heard me say this. And the answer to that's no. Like, in fact, I got up to 391 pounds. My son was still in the hospital. I managed to have relationships with girls that were good girls, but they just said, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. You could slide on my couch, or this was the thing, or friends that would just say, hey, like you could live at my place for a little bit. And I went through and struggled with that for almost 12 months before I stood back up and said, oh, I gotta really do something. I can't be a chef anymore. I'm unemployable in that regard. What do I do? Well, I picked up my computer, I did this, picked it up and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep working and keep learning and keep educating myself until I undig myself from this hole. Because when your hands reached out and stretched out, there's only going to be a few people there that are going to grab your hand and say, hey, man, don't worry. I got you. I'm going to help you out. And it's a certain type of person that it takes. It's not that they don't want to help, but first of all, there's codependency, right? So codependency says, it's me. I can feel like I can say this openly, say, hey, you know what? There was a time where people wanted help, and I'm like, oh, dude, I can help you. But we didn't talk about metrics. We didn't talk about what does the help cost. I didn't even ask if they wanted help. I basically, after they said it, I was like, oh, I can do it. And we never had a conversation about that. So I created my own madness within there, trying to help somebody who really wasn't at the place where they could fully be helped because they still wanted to try to do it themselves. So diving into the content here in this recap, it's a good place for people to jump back in because we've been at this for 7 weeks, and 2 weeks before that I was sick. And so I feel like I'm in it almost for 2 months, but I'm not quite there yet. And what I found is that if I set up measurable goals for myself, then I can get to them. Every week's not going to be a great place. It could be 1 week out of the month. Sometimes it's going to be a great place in terms of, did I hit my targets? But the clear thing is that if you're focused on getting an infrastructure in place in less than a week, then how can you not earn money from that thing if you keep connecting and keep having conversations? One thing, I'm going to jump the fence here a little bit. Recently, I said to myself, man, I want to connect with more people, not on a business level, but just personally. Because in the tech world, you're kind of reclusive. Somebody said to me the other day, you should go outside. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. The truth is, I go outside every single day. I get my head measured in the backyard with my feet on the ground. I get grounded. I get my coffee. I've been working for the HOA for like 2 to 3 weeks because I despise yard work, but it still needs to look good by their standards. And so I have to get out there each day and try to figure out and conform to their rules, right? So I'm getting out there, but you're right. I would love to spend 3 or 4 hours at my computer and say, hey, I fulfilled all my projects, destinations, goals, dreams this day, so I can give up and go and pack it in, have some fun, and go to the next day. That might be you. That might be you saying to yourself, hey, you know what? I need to do some things. I feel like my life is all work and no play, right? I've heard that before, if you're my age anyway. So the strategy is pretty clear. Anybody who's going to listen to this call, or Glenn, for you that's on the call right now, it's really important for you to really carry out a product that is going to be something that is going to, it doesn't hinge on many other people, right? It's not perhaps a financial tool, which, trust me, I've had my conversations with a lot of financial guys lately because I need to start thinking about doing savings and all that stuff, which I've ignored for probably about 5 or 6 years. Now, it's got to be easy peasy stuff that people like. It's stuff that you could invent in one day, strategize the next, and implement a strategy and the actual sales piece by tomorrow. You're going to pick 3 different tiers of that scenario. I just created a YouTube channel. In fact, I think we're streaming live on this particular YouTube channel. This channel is about getting a side hustle that can make you $100 a day. One person told me a long time ago, and I had probably 15 to 20 servers slash bartenders working for me at the restaurant at that time. And they said, bro, if I could just make $100 a day, I'd be gravy. Well, that $100 a day doesn't happen in every restaurant in America. It happens in Las Vegas. It happens in high profile, busy cities. Sometimes if you're a breakfast server, and you're getting tipped, you know, on $30, and somebody's being nice and they're giving you $6 as a tip, how many damn tables do you got to do to get to $100 that day? It's going to be a lot. I can't do the math, but I'm sure it's somewhere around 23, 25. So I say that to everybody else here. You're going to have 3 tiers of packages. You're going to add value to whatever those people are. You're going to have a medium tier, a small tier one that's going to efficiently earn you $100 a day, because maybe the number's a little higher for me right now in terms of what I have to earn in order to not feel stressed about the end of the month. Okay. And currently I earn quite a bit more than that. But what's important is to just get your ass safe, get yourself to a place where, okay, you can implement a strategy in a couple days and you can start helping people do things. In one of the videos on my YouTube channel, I said, did you know that if you could pay somebody as a virtual assistant, and I'd rather pay an American person than someone overseas to do this job, to just organize somebody's digital desktop, right? I watched a video yesterday. It made a whole bunch of sense. It was an hour-long thing from Hormozi. And what Hormozi had said was this. He goes, hey, so imagine the stuff that you do. If you learn your own marketing process, number one, that's important. He goes, that's the easy part. The next thing that he was instructing everybody to do that was in the room is this. He said, hey, so I want you to stop meal prepping. I want you to stop cleaning your laundry and stop cleaning your house. It was 3 things, right, that equaled $500 per month per incident. And he says, what you're going to do is you're going to buy back 96 of your hours. And your whole goal in business outside of yourself was to hire another person to run with you, but it's been tough to find that person or trust somebody, which is a scenario, right? So now you've actually just rehired yourself, because if you could get 96 hours in confidently per month, that's just a whole nother person, isn't it? And you're more effective because you know exactly what to do. The other thing for business owners that currently have other people that are helping them, I'll say this, or Mosey also said this, he said, get rid of Susan. You know, the person that's not really doing the job that you want, but you pay them, and you're paying them for 40 hours, but you're only getting 20 or 10 out of them, and there's a lot of excuses on the table. Get rid of them. You know, I used to be a guy who didn't want to get rid of anybody in the restaurant industry, but I would say this. I'd say, listen, you know, let's say somebody stole from the restaurant. That was a really difficult thing for me, but there was a couple times where I went through it and I said this, hey, I'm not going to fire you because it's not your wife and kids' problem that you're an idiot. So you could say that back then without getting in trouble. This day and age is just a bunch of pansies as far as what I could see. But having that conversation, I gave that person a choice, not an ultimatum. I didn't say, hey, you're going to be fired if you don't go do this. I did say this, you owe me something, and here's what you owe me. Like, I lost my bonus because of you, because of the things that you were taking. I didn't figure this out for 3 months. And so you've taken a lot from me. You've lied to me for 3 months. When I got that person back on board and I knew that he had 2 kids and a great wife, and I said, hey, I'm not going to fire you, but what I am going to do is I'm going to give you a set of things to do. And you get to choose whether you want to keep your job or not by actually accomplishing these things. And I don't want to hear anything from you about it. So if you say yes, you still keep your job. I don't have to call I don't have to call the GM and tell him, hey, look, this guy stole from us. I can just say, hey, this is what it is. I made a decision. If my GM comes to me and says, hey, man, you made a decision and this guy stole from us and you didn't fire him, what's going on with you? I say this, hey, you know what I would say? I'd say, listen, I made a decision because I'm in a position to make a decision. And is this guy your best employee at this point? And they'd have to say yes. And they could see it on him, the change, right? So, but what I am saying is this, if you have somebody who's lazy and they're not, and day in and day out, they're not working for what it is that you need, get rid of them. You know, I didn't realize that until maybe this moment at 53 years old, that I don't have the same amount of time that I had when I was 25 years old. So I thought a lot differently. But if it were me now and listening to that piece on Hormozy yesterday, I'm saying, hey, get rid of that person. Let them be somebody else's problem. In fact, you'll probably connect with your customers more if that was their job. You'll probably get a lot more work done, and it'll be to the level that you want it to be. So I'm going to pause real quick. Glenn, let's talk a little bit about, without really talking about the struggle, let's talk a little bit about, what are you experiencing in business right now?
It's slow. I've got some things in the pipeline, you know. You're always stuffing things in the pipeline. Things don't always fall out the pipeline the way you want them to.
Right.
But I do have several big things in the pipeline, some smaller things. I'm very intrigued with the where we are in the process as far as what you were just talking about the figure something out, market it, implement it in a day or two.
Yeah.
I'm going to be searching my soul for some ideas there. And if you've got some that you've are kind of working on, but have had to back burner them or whatever,
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to entertain some of that as well.
Awesome.
But that $100 a day, yeah, I mean, $100 a day would change a lot of people's lives.
I think it does something that's pretty interesting, because if I look at, something that is a risk for me that happened within my own household is, well, my wife was, for the past couple months, we've been in Memphis and we just got back from that. Before that, she was also doing insurance in a different state for about 45 days. So let's call it a 3-month period, of which I got to, be raised by wolves over here for 45 days. And I got 2 other dogs in the house. They're going like, well, I don't know what to do. Well, I'm looking at, I don't know what to do either. She's not here. And recently she got really busy with Zillow leads and real estate and that. So you have another expense. Like, we have a secondary car, but because we came from Texas, we didn't really get that thing registered. We didn't think we'd really need it. But now she's gassing up the Suburban and might as well be going to California 2 or 3 times in 1 week, related to where people have her going, open houses that we're doing. And so imagine that $100 that you could make as a side hustle, just kicking in and maybe being the thing that paid for gas.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a big deal for people right now.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
And if we're going to be that type of man, and that country that gets back out of the house due to, where we had a lot of learned behaviors that happened as a result of COVID. And I'm not trying to stay in the house all the time. I would love to have an Adirondack chair, somewhere out by the beach where I know I could go still do the same work that I'm doing, or a river or whatnot, and have a little bit of fun in my life at the same time. But that costs gas also, right?
Right.
So, it's funny. I think we all at different times have the same struggle. And man, here's what I think the answer is for me. So there's something called MRR. It's monthly recurring revenue, right? And if we could put ourselves in a place where we could just say, hey, I want to make $1,000 monthly recurring revenue. And then I want to build that thing to 2,000. Then I want to build it to 5,000, then to 10,000. Like, I think if people realize that that's real, they can get to that place. And so a side hustle is going to be really the best thing. Now, Glenn, you asked this, if I had some ideas. Here's my problem. I don't have I have a million ideas. It's about holding them captive And what I found that I'm not effective at is I can explain somebody what to do, but if they don't take it and run with it, they can't get the same results that I can get. I'm fearless about being okay with whatever conversation I have to have today. In fact, I was just on a call with a guy named Mike. We're talking a little bit about fitness. Love the dude. Met him a year and a half ago. Try to synergize on some stuff. I was working with one of his business partners, and that thing just didn't work out. I could tell that maybe they were at different ends of the spectrum. And what he found out for him is that focusing back in the fitness arena for him and doubling down on just 3 products was the thing that really brought him back to the center. And believe it or not, you'll hear this in like ACA and other recovery scenarios. I think it's number 7. We're trying to have fun in our lives too, right? Not just work our asses off all the time and have something to show for it that just spins and spins. You know, so that right there, I'm going to pause on that strategy because it's the backbone of every business owner who wants to make a change. It has to be something like that, meaning you could go look and see what's trending. You don't have to know shit about it, and you can just learn on the fly and then implement these strategies. This is how I got into this business in marketing and lead generation and all that, is because I had a need. I couldn't be a chef anymore. So what was I going to do? Well, I started up a company called 69 Cards. We had $69 for 1,000 business cards. I happened to learn the software. I think I was on, Adobe before it was even on the cloud, Adobe One, right? Not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Adobe One. And so I basically just started to learn how to do that thing. And then there was programs like Dreamweaver, which was one of the roughest and toughest web development softwares out there, the pro version of stuff, right? And now it's so much easier. So, I'm talking to a couple people, but think about this for a sec. I had this conversation. I have something called 600 Business Tips. I wrote it before ChatGPT was out, and I wrote it longhand. And I said, okay, well, if I am going to put something together good that gives people information, it was kind of the precursor to this road to $1 million here. Well, I need to just give it away for free. But late in that game, I found out I could give it away for $9 or $27 or $127 or whatever the price is for the year. So imagine that. Sure, does it take time? But here's what doesn't take time. A lot of time anyway. If you step in and you have an idea and you have it written down what you're going to accomplish with ChatGPT these days, forget about it. You can learn so much and you can program so much. The thing that I would tell people using ChatGPT is don't get the human factor lost. 80% of the words are words that are connector words anywhere, if you know what that is, such as and, or, therefore, blah, blah, blah. So you can have an intelligent conversation, but if you then put a sentence related to how you might speak something from your own voice two times in a paragraph, well, all the rest of the words are just connector words. So how is it not your strategy, right? And that's what I like to convey to people, because I do the same thing with this, which is I don't know everything about getting to $1 million because I've personally never done it. But I think that the world and the internet is built of people who had this, what they call imposter syndrome. I don't have that. I just know that I got to show up for my family every single day. So I make it about that, not my face on the camera or a wrinkle on my forehead or, before I had a chipped tooth. Like, I don't make it about any of those things. I make it about what I'm trying to solve. So imagine you could get out of your own way and you can just start solving those problems. There's going to be people out there that like you. Okay. For instance, one thing that's lately, for me is I want to expand my YouTube channel because I never really did it. I never had a YouTube channel. I post a couple things on there, kind of learn, and now I've got all these cameras around me that I can go and, do good film that's going to show up well on YouTube. Now I can spend some time each day and go in and do the YouTube. Here's why I'm saying it. Kimberly, my wife, sent me this video, and this video was a lady who is in her 60s, mid 60s, and she wanted to talk about a certain topic. Well, 10 weeks in, when she committed to doing a video that was just point and shoot, kind of like this live, but it was pre-recorded and uploaded with no frills, no text overlays, no flying stuff, none of the hoopla, as they say. Well, she started making, after 10 weeks, about $2,500 per video. And her subject was people that want to earn money over 60 years old. I'll supply that link in the Momentum King scenario. I think she has 10 videos that really explain exactly how she did it and how long it took. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to do it. So as soon as I saw that she could do it, and it wasn't a Hormozi type or somebody who had already made it, or a Ryan Stewman or any of these top level guys that have learned how to do it over the years. It was some lady who was 10 years of age, adjacent to how old my mom is. I'm like, holy shit, this can be done. So when I started to have the belief, of course, I went overboard like I do. Now I got 2 YouTube channels. One's about my coaching process, and then the other one is about just making $100 a day, essentially. I got into some other YouTube channels where they're like, you got to have the fly-ins and the whole thing. Well, I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to do it the way she said it, which is very simple. And if I can accomplish that, eventually I'll get into the algorithm that allows for me to gain followers and viewers that then creates its own income stream. How much did I have to pay for that? Zero. I could have done it from my iPhone, but I decided to get this camera over here because it's nice, it's 4K. But nobody has to do that. And anybody on this call or watching it later has a strategy that they can involve in order to go get that. Now imagine you created something that was 3 products, you went in, you also started a YouTube channel at the same time. It means you're going to be doing some extra work. And then guess what happened? Money starts coming in from over here and over here. Now, I promise you, when you get to a place where you're at $3,000, $5,000 a month, you're going to start looking at what you're currently doing and asking yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And imagine that for a second. Like if I look into the place where I was in the kitchen, beating myself up 17 hours a day, remembering, hey, I'm just throwing my clothes on the floor. That's how I learned that bad behavior, by the way, because I was so damn tired. And a lot of times I would fall asleep versus taking a shower. So I'd have to live with myself overnight. And you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, hey, I don't like being this person. Then you wake up 20 years later and you say, I'm still that person. And what am I going to do about it now? I guess what happens when you get a little bit older is you start to reflect on how much time you might have and how you want to spend that time versus, in your 20s, you were just doing whatever it took and having fun and maybe not building a nest egg like we should have, right? So I don't want that for anybody. Here's another thing. Right now, I feel like the state of the nation is pretty weak. And it's weak because everybody's divided. You get so many options. If I look at, and I've had this conversation a lot lately, it's like, okay, I don't know what the number is, but we let 1 million something or more people in at the border, just let them walk in. And then there's a whole bunch of problems that happen with that. And also it diversifies the nation. the interesting strategy and thing that happens over there for me is like, I worked in the kitchen my whole life, so I know Spanish people are really strong at work and they love doing it. But is that the same for everybody? I look at American kids right now and I'm like, man, um, we not might not be a democracy in 25 years. I'm glad I'd like to live till I'm 114, but I'd like to be on an island by myself, perhaps, watching that whole thing go down and imploding. I feel that strongly that that's true, and it's only because the absence of, perhaps a father in their life. So, I don't want to get too deep into the root cause of why I feel like a group like this and other groups like Uncaged are really solid places to be. It's because people can show up for other people and it doesn't really cost them anything. It just costs them time. And we don't know when our time's going to be expired. So we just have to embrace the identity that we have and the conversations that we have with other people that can help them get to another place. The truth is, none of us can figure it out by ourselves. I hear people say this all the time. Hey, you know what? Like, oh, I'm a self-made millionaire. Well, come on, man. Really? Is that what you are? Okay, great. So nobody helped you. You just did it all by yourself. Like that was your thing. Well, I feel that when I have that feeling, it's kind of the Holy Spirit saying to me, yeah, that's not true. Nobody could just become a millionaire by themselves. They had to have either work on the backs of other people that believed in their process, or they had to get lucky. That's it, you know. So let's move on through the next parts of this, but we created some products. We started to talk a little bit about strategy development. How do we evaluate a couple different income streams, and then marketing, right? So marketing is really important. I'm going to just briefly overview this, okay? So Go High Level offers a $99 marketing tool and a $297 and a $497. Because I'm a tech and I own my own agency, I can actually sell that for any price that I want to. So, the truth is that what I'm telling people is, hey, look, you know what? Get in to Go High Level, start building your own stuff in Go High Level. There's so much free education out there on YouTube and other in the back office. And there is dedicated support back there that says, hey, look, you know what? If you have a problem, like, tell us what your problem is. That way, I still create some reoccurring revenue for me. Let's call it $75 per month. I'm still giving it to people for less than it would cost, and it's affordable. If somebody said, hey, I can start at $50, and I'm not really going in there to build out systems for them, but all I'm doing is showing up on calls where they can ask questions anyway, and they have the full use. I'm like, how do you lose? Like, stop drinking coffee at Starbucks and spend the $49. Stop going out to eat, start eating at home and save yourself a buttload of money. I went today to a restaurant drive-through in a pinch when we had some stuff going on. I can't remember, it's R something burger place. It was $40 for two people. I could feed entire family for $40. Rice, wholesome vegetables, chicken, etc., and probably 3 to 5 pounds of it. So, think about where you can reduce, because here's what I found. Some of you will agree with this and some of you won't. Is in order for me to get something, I have to give something up. For me, I've always said sleep's the first thing to go, right? Like, hey, put me in. I learned for 30 years in the kitchen, plus, hey, how to show up for 17 hours a day and then go get 6 hours sleep and come back. Well, they gave me 15 minutes to shower and 10 minutes to think about it. And then I had to go back to work. So anybody can give something up to get something brand new. And if all we have is 1 week in the middle of that to strategize and figure out where we can go, then I tell people, stop fucking playing. Like, let's do something cool. Let's do something fast. Let's do something good. And the problem and the solution is this: if the person who needs something, I'm willing to stand there next to them. But if they're need it temporarily, they don't want to do the work, I don't have time. I turn down people all the time. Somebody that would have brought my MRR up to $5,000 per month just in one client. And I said, well, we've been working together for 6 months and this process isn't complete yet. And I'd love to be able to work with you. But at the end of the day, I have to decide if your launch and all your stuff doesn't really fit with where I'm at that period of time, then I might have to say no. It's not that I want to, it's just that I have to be strong enough to not be pulled in 15 directions for people that maybe aren't ready or aren't going to the place that they thought they were. So, team alignment. All right. Well, let's talk about that for a sec. Well, you're the team. So, if you're not in alignment with yourself, then that's going to be a hard spot for you to reach any type of things. If I start working with somebody, I'm going to hold them accountable a little bit. And I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Like, we're working on this together, but my time is really valuable. And so if you're not doing the work and you're saying, hey, this is what this is, and this is, well, I had to do this and all this, well, you're not in the game for yourself. So how would you expect somebody like me to also be in that same game? Because I can't figure it all out for you. If it were my business and I can't have 50 or 100 of them that I can successfully operate simultaneously, then I would say I'd probably figure it out because I have Google, I have Chat GPT. I like talking to people. People have answers. You know how Tony Robbins started out is, what he did? He started to ask business owners that had to fix problems for themselves, what they were going through, and key pieces of information he would ask to find out how they built this monster. Well, there was a struggle all the while. Even at the top, there's a struggle. So I say to yourself, hey, look, show up for yourself on this new project 3 hours per day, 2 hours at the least, and you'll have some sort of progression. And if your goal is to take this new business for yourself and start it up and start moving towards something brand new, who knows, you might like it. And that would be a really cool thing for you. So financial planning, interesting thing here. It doesn't take anything to start a business. It takes an idea. Because truthfully, if I wanted to market for somebody right now and I look at myself in the mirror 15 years ago, there were none of these tools out here. I just had to say, hey, I can, yeah, we can create a flyer and we can go do this. And then if I want to get the business for you, then this is how much it costs you. And then I want a bonus when I go do it. That gave me incentive and it gave them incentive to pay their bills all the time. So that was a flyer and walking to business, using your legs to get there, right? So that's the financial plan. The financial plan is take $100 for the first month and put it into your business and start developing the plan in the first week, moving towards executing the plan, which is clearly having to talk to people. And once you talk to people and they like what you're saying, they'll buy your products. One person, and related to financial planning, that I want you guys to hear, it's a really cool thing. Now, this person, I don't know her name, but she's called the six-figure chick. Well, she's no longer with us. So that part of it sucks, right? But she developed a whole bunch of online strategies from scratch. I remember following her when she had 0 followers. And then she would build her business to $1 million because she had, 15 to 20 different little $100 courses or whatnot that would show people how to do stuff, and people would just subscribe and buy. That could be you. That's me right now. That's Zach Williams right now. That's a whole bunch of other people that are running their own groups. They didn't start from like, oh, wow, cool. This is like, I'm making $1 million in my first month. You just got to focus on that $100 a day, because survival, before you can thrive, you have to survive. And before you can survive really well and start to feel like you're making an impact and sharing details with others, you have to get yourself to a place where you're centered surrounding lack of problematic things that happen in your life. Okay. I talk to young bucks all the time. Man, it was a rager last night. And we're talking business, right? So we're saying, hey, you know what? I'm trying to get to this one goal, but you're still out drinking, you're still out hustling up with your friends and doing all the dumb stuff that is incongruent with you running your own business. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Are we being serious about? So one thing that I really love about old hip hop is, like, I remember Dre saying, it's all work and no play, and then it's Alizé. Well, celebrate later, man. Like, just because you did a hard day's work or a hard week's work doesn't mean the job's done yet. Sometimes you have to do it for months and years before you can celebrate. Think about Jeff Bezos for a second. Whether you love him or hate him, he had a small idea and he brought it to a big marketplace, and now he's one of the most rich people in the world. Does he do all the work? No. Did he make a lot of mistakes? Uh-huh. A whole bunch of them. Did he lose half of his company to his wife? Yeah. Right. So think about that. Steve Wynn. Some of you guys might not know what that name is, but it's the owner of the Mirage property and the Wynn Hotel and all that. He went through the same stuff. He started in a place where service was going to be the thing that he wanted to accomplish, and then he started purchasing hotels. And as he grew blinder and blinder and blinder, he started in real life. Steve's fairly blind, if not all the way at this point. He's building hotels and he's having people describe, what this hotel is going to look like. Now imagine that. So if somebody else who has one type of struggle can do it, then can we do it? Yeah, but we make so many excuses why we can't do it instead of being razor focused and have our eye on the ball, as they say. I can look at my son who was in the hospital from 2013, February 6th, all the way till August 23rd of 2016, and he's still with us. And I could look at him back then and who he was hanging around with and the stuff that he was doing. And although it wasn't all that bad, it brought him into the crowds of people that there was bad people there. So he put himself at risk rather than focusing on something in the long term. Well, the cool thing is that finally one day he started to focus, and things are absolutely different for him at this stage in his life at 29 years old. Right? He's still in a wheelchair. He's more capable than most people that I know. So think about that for a second. Skill enhancement, market research. We don't have to really go through those things. If you're going to figure out something new, then you're going to have to learn how to put yourself in front of it and cultivate a good relationship with it and try to find the positivity in doing something new. Being defeated at 53 years old, I'm going to be 54 in a couple weeks here, June 17th. And I don't know if that age is going to do something for me or not. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have ill will towards it or whatnot. But what I do know is that I'm going to, as long as the Lord wakes me up every single morning, puts sunshine on my face, and allows for me to use my limbs to do the things that I need to do, I'm just going to keep pushing towards something, and nobody's going to stop it. Nobody's going to take the dream from me. I want that for everybody that I speak to. I don't want you to just think about something that was a dream and never set out to accomplish it. One of my favorite videos is Earl Nightingale, The World's Strangest Secret. And what he says is, he says a whole bunch of things, but he says, if you, put a captain at the helm and you turn on the engine, 9 times out of 10, when you plot a course, you're going to get to the destination. So that's in the 40s or 50s when he said that. So that's still true today. In the same sense, what he said is, hey, you know what? If you just turn on the engine and you don't have a plan in terms of where you're going to wind up a derelict. And what that is it exemplifies where young people are today in the world, and people that may have been in bad relationships, meaning they were there without a father, or they didn't learn these things and they got themselves in trouble. So they had a new set of rules based on perhaps the prisons or whatnot. So they're trying to reinvent themselves at 50 years old or 60 years old. And they're saying, hey, man, I ain't got enough left. Well, I don't think that that's true for anybody. I think it's time to buck up a little bit, start being more centered on yourself, right? You know, think about this. If somebody says you're on an airplane and your job is, if that sucker's going down, an oxygen mask comes on for you to put yours on first, then shouldn't that be the rule all the time? Shouldn't you just say to yourself, hey, if it's going to be, it's up to me, and nobody's going to pay my bills. Nobody's going to show me how to get talented at this. Nobody is going to take my hand, because they're too damn busy at this point to, run with somebody. There's only a few of us out there that's willing to do it. I'd say 1 in 100, right? So market research, don't need it right now. Market research is going to be a place that we're going to, after we get there and we're trying to scale this thing, we're going to start working on what that looks like. But the timeline, this action plan, if you look at this action plan for just the startup portion of the 3 months, how do we train ourselves to get to a place where on the first day of month 4 starts our 12-month period where we can earn $1 million? Well, we're going to learn a lot of stuff in there. We're going to learn how to get our first customer in that new business. We're going to learn how to start putting the details together to strategize to scale the thing. We're going to figure out that our time management sucks. We're going to figure out that we have to block time for ourselves to get to a better place and start cutting out the things that just don't work for us because they have nothing to do. They're not congruent. They're not the same ideas that run in the same path as fulfilling your life's plan. So month 2, we said we were going to implement the plan, start marketing. Marketing for poor folk is this: start engaging with people, start having conversations, start letting them know what you do, and in the same sense, find out what they're all about. And if you can talk to 100 people in a month, could you sell 1 on a good idea? Could you sell 10 on a good idea, right? 10% is probably the average. I was speaking to my wife today about, the real estate game. Well, if you're not taking specific action, and at the end of this, I'll get into what, some of the deeper Hormozi stuff. If you're not taking this massive action, AKA Tony Robbins, and you're not putting forth a big effort, we all have the same amount of time. Are you going to spend 6 hours on the TV? Are you going to, what are you going to do? So we created a plan together that said, okay, hey, we're going to do some film in the morning. We're going to get that thing out of the way. We're going to create the media because we don't have anybody else to create the media for us at the moment. I've got people that do it, but sometimes they're not reliable. So we're doing that. We're creating the media. We're getting our name out there. We're going out there in a wild. We're not doing the same things that we used to do, but we're cutting out like going to drive anywhere perhaps in this real estate game, unless it's a really serious buyer or a listing appointment. And from there, we're doing cold market outreach in the email, which is virtually free. It's under a penny per email and text message. Why not do it? You spent $10 on business cards you don't use. You spent $100 on business cards you don't give out enough. So think about allocating some funds back into a plan that doesn't make you have to leave the house, and you can have some really big wins over there. So marketing is conversations with people. That's it. If I look back, 2004, I was in the mortgage industry. I really loved it. I needed a break, but from cooking, and a friend of mine, David Walbarst, who was one of the owners, another guy was Kevin Shonda. Kevin's like, hey, come over here. I'd known the dude since I was 7, so I was comfortable doing that. Later, I opened a restaurant with a guy. David's like, dude, all you have to do is tell them what we offer, and then they're going to come over and they're going to start working with us. And I said, that's the recruiting plan? He goes, yeah, but here's this one piece of paper that has all the bullet points on the paper that is the reasons why they're going to say yes to you. I was like, damn, that's it. He was way younger than me too at the time, I want to say. At least around the same age. So do you have a plan on paper that's going to get you those yeses? Well, all he had to tell me was, hey, look, we're going to give them a desk. We have our own money line in the lending industry. So we're going to get their customers approved more, and we'll help them with their marketing, and we'll help them build a team. Okay, easy enough. Fantastic. Let's go. Right. So that was it. So we got people to the next place. I want you to be able to do that for yourself, because if you can think about for a moment here that you're going to just go start doing something and then it's going to have to grow because there's no way it cannot if you keep focusing on it, then that's where you'll end up too. So next, sales pipeline development. Well, these people that you talk to along the way, don't you want to say something, or do you just want to say something to them one time and leave it? I don't know what it is for you, but I constantly want to have an awareness of being able to reach out to people. So I'm going to have to do some inner work to find out what the best things to say to these individuals are who potentially need my services, and then talk to them from time to time. Right? Sales pipeline development. Let me tell you how I strategize with the phone call, the call that has to happen in order for you to sell something, perhaps. There's not really a business out there that says, hey, here's my product, go buy it, and then there's no fulfillment for it. It's very, very little margin of products that are that allows for, right? So what I mean by that is I have to be at top of mind. And if I can be at top of mind, just giving them cool information that they may not have known and they happen to catch it, well, then great. It gets me on a phone call. Back in the day, we had fax. I'd have to show up at an office. I'd have to book lunch. I'd have to invite somebody over to the house. And there was maybe about 6 to 7 ways that you can connect with someone. But now it is 150 to 1,000 different ways that you can connect with somebody just to get back to the basic 7, except for the fax. Right. So that's what I wanted to say there. Operational optimization. How can I streamline the process to get better each day and scale up? Like if something used to take you 1 hour, well, let's make it take 30 minutes, but still be as effective. And you'll find out as you're diminishing the time you spend and you're exercising, the amount of information that goes with that to still be 100% effective and deliver a process. Well, you find the common denominator of how far can I get this thing down to? It's like running a mile. Sometimes it'll start at 20 minutes. If I walk a mile right now, I'm at about 18 minutes. But if I was to run a mile and I was a good runner, I would learn along the way. And eventually, maybe I can get down to 5 or 7 minutes. There's people out there that can get down to a 4-minute mile. So think about that for a sec. Refining and optimizing, refining and optimizing. And then KPIs. KPIs are really important because you have to know your metrics in order to figure out how you can scale these items and how you're going to move forward and get something else done properly, right? So we're not going to beat a dead horse with that. Couple things that we're going to talk about now is the customer feedback loop. Getting, evaluations of your services, whether they're good or bad. It's a breeding ground for you to learn and earn more by getting the customer to give you feedback on the products that you offer. Scaling strategies. What is that? Well, duplicating the process and then going to the next process and helping somebody else learn how to do that and scaling yourself out of that situation so that the fulfillment process can happen unconditionally without you having to be there micromanaging every piece of it. And then team engagement, right? How are you connecting with people? How are you being innovative? How are you instilling a good core value system into your group so that other people want to do the same thing at the level that you're doing it, because maybe they see that you're having success with it. And if you're not having success with it, you'll see a lot of attrition. And that's just what it is. Okay. So adaptation and flexibility. We're always learning, right? And we're always celebrating our wins by celebrating milestones. So that's what I have for today. It's just a recap. Week 7, Momentum Kings. What we're trying to accomplish is we're helping people journey to $1 million. Now, some of you might be here and not even believe that it's possible. Well, I can tell you that it is possible. I've done it for other people, for other companies. You've probably done it for your company, but you just don't see the value in yourself. So I would tell you this, and I'll end it with this. One of the pastors I used to go to his church, his name's Marty. And you know, he would say, hey, look, if you're messing up, stop doing that. If you're not focused on your life, stop doing that. His answer to everything, if you're not praying enough, stop doing that. So my advice to you is what Marty might say, which is, if you're not connecting the dots on how you can build your own business, stop doing it. Start doing the right things to implement strategies to get you to the next place in a timely manner without hurting people and adding value to the people that you connect with. So I'm out. I appreciate you guys being here. Deuces.